It's a battle between the powers that be, as a senator in the FCT is not quite seeing eye to eye with the minister of the FCT. This is one of the conversations I'll be looking at later today as we take some of the reactions that Nigerians have to this. I am Olive Emodiani. Welcome to Breakfast Central.
And I am Osaoge Ogbon, welcoming you once again to Breakfast Central. It's going to be 2 hours sharing with you the top stories, making conversations across Nigeria this morning. Remember that you could also be a part of the conversation via the phone lines or using our social media platforms at News Central TV to share your thoughts with us as the program continues this morning. We also have Dashin Usman, who's joining us with Breakfast Headlines. Good morning, Dashin.
Good morning, Osaoge. It's good to be here.
Great to have you. You both look, really good in blue this morning. I wasn't informed, before. Of course,
Osaoge, I can't really make out what you're saying. You sound very low.
Oh, okay. I'm sure they'll sort it out, with the production. But we probably would start the conversation while they get that sorted. We'll probably start the conversation with what's going on between the Minister of the FCT and, of course, Senator Ireti Kingibe, which a lot of people have once again described as very embarrassing. Seeing these two go at each other. She had, her complaints, on a television interview, and he responded as expected, of him. Yes, on Wike, he never stays quiet, when these type of things happen. He's criticized her and, of course, said that, in 2027, he would, seemingly ensure that, she doesn't return back to the Senate. And for me, one of the things, and I'm sure that we're going to bring it up later today, is, really just pointing out, for me, the concern that I have is, his statements are almost a clear sign that elections are never really determined by the electorate. In Nigeria, to some extent. So it's a fear that they're not really determined by the electorate. It's determined by whoever it is that they choose to let to stay in office or to take out of office. And it gives credence to those who have criticized the elections in Rivers State in 2023 and said that it wasn't exactly what the people of Rivers State voted that, INEC eventually put out in the results. So there's many questions to be asked as to his statement, but I'm sure that would x-ray them further today. Olive?
Well, it doesn't really come as a surprise because if you notice, most of the projects that he commissions, anywhere he goes to when he's in Abuja, he goes with the former senator representing the FCT, that's Adoda. Instead, you never get to see Ireti, alongside him. Even if, you have like an issue when it comes to the job, it's always better for you to, quash it and make sure that, in the presence of everybody, especially those who voted you, you're seen as, being in cahoots and, trying to make, trying to make it work. Do you understand? Because in the first place, you did say that, it goes to show that it's not determined on the electorate, but the electorate actually, voted you. The electorate want to see you work, so you need to come together to be able to do what you have to do to be able to make the FCT work. I'm actually really not surprised, but I have to say this. If I'm to advise him, just whatever it is that's happening or has happened in Rivers State, just leave it in Rivers State. You don't need to bring it to the FCT. FCT is a seat of power. The FCT is the capital of Nigeria, and it needs to work. We don't need, politics come into play when it comes to, moving the FCT forward.
Right. She does make some very solid arguments. She complains about the fact that she's not being carried along, not necessarily because of a power tussle or she wanting to be in power, but because the people put her in office for a reason. They put her in office to represent them, and she would take their complaints. She said she'd never been in a room with Nyesom Wike, except when they were having when they were before the Senate, but she'd never been alone with him. So she said she needed to be able to convey the displeasure of the people. For example, Nyesom Wike has been working. He's been commissioning a lot of projects. But there are a number of things that she has complained because of the people. The people have complained to her. The fire incident that happened recently, the fact that there was no access for the fire service to fire trucks to be able to get water. Like they have to drive a long distance to get water. She said people have complained about them not having water and about the roads that are being commissioned and the highbrow areas and like where the majority of the citizens in Abuja live, they are still complaining about bad roads. So to be able to convey these, she then has to go on television interviews, which isn't the best way to go. And like you said, it's the priority. The priority here would be the people, the needs of the people being met. beyond being the minister of the FCT, he serves in the capacity of the governor of the state, seeing as the state has no directly elected governor. So he serves as the governor. And commissioning projects is a part of one of the things that he's doing. But he has lots of, needs to meet. It's a lot of burden that rests on his shoulders. And I think that it's important that the both of them work together. She said she doesn't think she's being marginalized as a result of her gender, especially because in the Senate she's being carried along, because that was some of the arguments we're seeing on social media, that she's being marginalized because of gender. But the one thing that a number of people are a bit concerned about is the authoritativeness with which Nyesom Wike has sort of let her know that she will not be coming into power, or he will do whatever it takes for her not to come into power in 2027.
Olive, but do you actually believe that she's been marginalized because of gender? Because he carries the Minister for State along.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
That could really just be because, they have a better working relationship. And so, listen, so you can criticize Nyesom Wike, and, criticize the way that he's carrying out his activities as FCT minister. You can say, okay, he's not doing, water projects, or he's not, focused on security and some of all the other things that you mentioned. But, it's just important, that as the senator representing the FCT, they should have a working relationship. And that's what she's complaining about. I'm not sure if it's gender related. I believe that
she has said she doesn't think it's gender related.
I believe it is simply maybe a political issue, or, he simply has just not, found himself, I don't know.
There might be an element of power play there, because he says that she feels that she wants him to report to her, and that he cannot report to her. So I think there might be some level of power play, and a number of people are saying, please, whatever happens in Rivers State, let it end there. Let's not extend this fight to Abuja.
They need to come to a compromise. They need to, come to find a middle ground to be able to work this out. They're not kids.
Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, whenever, in the last 1 year when we've had, conversations about a tussle, his name has come up, the second time now. It has, of course, been in River State, and now it's in the FCT. But again, my concern, they can have their own personal issues. That really doesn't bother me, as long as the people of the FCT are getting the, in quote, dividends of democracy, as they always would say. That, for me, is what's most important. And also, that nobody makes those types of statements that make it seem like it's not the electorate that determine who wins elections in Nigeria. That, for me, is the biggest concern in this whole conversation.
Absolutely.
That a person can say that we would ensure that what happened before doesn't happen again, and we'll make sure that you don't return. It is not up to him to decide who wins elections.
It is disrespectful to the people in Abuja, yes.
Exactly. It's not, he can have his own opinion on how she's fared as a senator, which is something we will question today. What bills has she passed? Because he also asked those questions. What bills has she passed that has improved the lives of the people of the FCT? And that includes every other member of the National Assembly in Labour Party, which we will be questioning today when our guest comes in. So these are the important aspects of it. And I just want to also mention, she's not the only one who's criticized him. We also saw, I saw a video from Peter Ame, who, of course, is the former national chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council of Nigeria, who also questioned, the credibility and the deliverables that, of course, Nyesom Wike has brought to the FCT. So she's not the only voice who is speaking out against him. For me, it's fair to question what he's delivered, but please do not threaten the electoral process or cheapen the electoral process in Nigeria to be based on what you feel should happen in 2027. These are my thoughts anyway. We will x-ray some of these stories with our conversations today. Dashin is going to be coming up with breakfast headlines next, but let's share with our viewers this morning what our top stories are.
Suicide bombing resurfaces in Nigeria with multiple lives lost in Borno State. We'll be having the conversation today. We've seen the Vice President has spoken about it as well.
And also, Nyesom Wike dares Ireti Kingibe to retain seat as FCT minister.
And court dismisses Nnamdi Kanu's 1 billion naira suit against the federal government.
Also this morning, Shatima visits victims of suicide attacks in Borno State, as we, of course, continue to x-ray that story.
And we have the newspaper front pages where we open the phone lines for you to call in. All these and more on Breakfast Central.
We begin the headlines in West Africa, Nigeria, where Justice James Omotosho of a federal high court in Abuja on Monday dismissed the fundamental human rights suit filed by the detained leader of the Indigenous People of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, against the federal government. Kanu in the suit is seeking 1 billion naira in damages from the Attorney General of the Federation and the Department of State Services for alleged rights violation. Kanu claimed that the DSS and its Director General violated his right to a fair hearing by allegedly preventing his lawyers from having unhindered interactions with him where he is being detained in preparation for his defense in his criminal trial. The Nigerian Air Force has debunked the information in circulation that a helicopter belonging to it crashed in the Gabi Council area of Kaduna State. NAF spokesman, Air Vice Marshal Edward Gabquet, who made this known in a statement, also warned against the spread of fake news and unconfirmed information. Recall, residents of the area claim to have witnessed the pilot emerging from the wreckage after the crash. Nigeria Customs Service seized a significant cache of arms and ammunition at the Port Harcourt Area 2 Command in One. Now, the Comptroller General, Adewale Adeni, announced on Monday that acting on intelligence, customs officers inspected a suspicious 40-foot container from Turkey on June 12, 2024, discovering 844 rifles and 112,500 rounds of live ammunition hidden among doors, furniture, plumbing, fittings and leather bags valued at $4.17 billion. 3 suspects were detained and an investigation is underway. We head to South Africa, where the Democratic Alliance leader, John Steenhuisen, has addressed the nation a day after the announcement of a new government with former opposition parties getting 12 out of 32 portfolios after the ruling ANC lost its outright parliamentary majority. According to Steenhuisen, who now heads the Ministry of Agriculture, DA now has a meaningful and vital role to play in the reconstruction of the country. The Mangosuthu University of Technology, South African Energy Development Institute, and Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, USA, are jointly hosting the Energy, Water, Food, Climate Nexus Summit under the theme, What We Want is Possible. This landmark event will take place from 1st to 4th of July 2024 in Durban. The event is to draw attention to the shortcomings of the ways energy is currently produced, and threats and the problems associated with water, particularly the quality of water the world over. In North Africa, Mauritania's incumbent president, Mohamed Ould Sheikh El Ghazouani, has comfortably won re-election, receiving 56.12% of the vote in the first round of the presidential polls. This is according to results announced by the Independent National Electoral Commission chief on Monday. The victory gives the former army chief a second term as head of vast desert country seen as a rock of relative stability in Africa's volatile Sahel region and set to become a gas producer. And that's all on breakfast headlines. Now it's back to Osaoge and Olive.
Thank you very much, Dashin. Interesting stories as always. A bit worrisome, the story you shared about the Nigerian customs intercepting a large cache of arms and ammunition. Really worrisome. Because, you know, a lot of questions need to be asked and answered as to what those weapons were going to be used for, where they were headed, and, you know, I mean, who really is responsible for them.
I also have to give it up to, you know, the customs and also the NDLEA because, you know, people actually find creative ways to hide contraband. And, you know, the way they actually found those contraband, you know, I need to actually give them a thumbs up, you know, in fittings, in doors. How is that even possible? Like, where does that even come from? Like, it's crazy. Imagine if it has actually gone past them and, you know, come into Nigeria. And like we said, you know, this bombing in Gwoza might just be something more. It might be more because we're seeing a resurgence of, you know, insurgency and also bombings in the north. And we have been warned that these insurgents or terrorists are coming in from Africa, from other countries, you know, through Borno State, through Cameroon to Nigeria, to the north of Nigeria.
Yeah.
So, you know, the army needs to sit up. Security forces need to seriously sit up.
Yeah. Kudos to the customs, you know, Nigerian Customs Service once again. I'm hoping, you know, that they carry the proper investigation and do what needs to be done, basically. I don't want to speak too much about it because we don't have that much information. So for now, just say kudos to the Customs Service for, of course, you know, helping with that one. All right, we will speak with you again at 9 o'clock.
Thank you,
for stopping
sir.
by. All right. Let's take a short break this morning. When we come back, we're going into our top stories. Welcome once again. Vice President Kashim Shettima, of course, visited a hospital in Borno State as the death toll continues to increase after the bomb blast. He says the death toll from the multiple suicide bomb attacks in northeastern Nigeria in the town of Gwoza over the weekend, which rose to 32, was a worrisome development. He made this known after visiting the state specialist hospital in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, where some of the wounded were being treated. News Central's Umaru Kirawa completes this report.
The pain of the multiple Gwoza bomb explosions still lingers as patients struggle to survive the brunt of the heinous act. The attack, which resulted in significant casualties, has left the Gwoza community in mourning. Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima is here at the State Specialist Hospital Maiduguri with other government functionaries to offer comfort and support to the victims.
As Dele Giwa said, one life lost in cold blood is as gruesome as millions lost in a pogrom. Our hearts goes out to the victims. So far, we have recorded 32 deaths. 42 were brought in from Gwoza. About 14 have been discharged. About 26 are currently receiving attention. And I want to use this forum to most sincerely register our profound gratitude to the Borno State government, to National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, and the State Emergency Management Agency and ICRC for rising up to the challenges of the times and giving their best in terms of support.
During his visit, the Vice President Shettima interacted with the patients and medical staff, pledging enhanced support for those affected.
The House of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is with the victims, and he specifically instructed us to come and offer our condolences and commiserations to the victims of this incident. We are here with the Director General of NEMA, with the Minister of Agriculture, with the Minister of Transportation, and of course, the Chief Whip of the Senate is a son of the soil from Gwoza, so he was here since yesterday. And the acting governor had been working round the clock to provide succor and support to the victims.
The Vice President emphasized the government's commitment to improving security in Borno State and supporting communities devastated by terrorist activities. Families in Gwoza are still under curfew as they patiently await unfolding development to regain their means of survival. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Thank you, Umaru Kirawa, for that report. We'll still be looking at the bomb explosion. And 3 days after twin suicide attacks by female Boko Haram jihadists killed at least 3 and injured 13 worshippers in a mosque near Gwoza, Borno State. 4 women suspected to be members of the group killed over 20 people in the same area on Saturday, June 29th. Now, within 3 hours, 4 improvised explosive devices, that's IEDs, were detonated at various locations in Maraban, Gwoza, and Polka. The territories are controlled by factional Boko Haram leader Ali Ngude from his camp in the Mandara Mountains.
Now, Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima, while visiting victims of the attack at the state hospital in Maiduguri, stated that the death toll from the multiple suicide bomb attacks has risen to 32. Now joining us is security expert Chidi Omeje. Good morning and thanks for joining us, Mr. Omeje.
Good morning and thanks for having me.
Yeah, I've been saying, since yesterday when we started speaking about this story that, my biggest challenge or worry is the fact that, or the fear rather, that we might have returned to Nigeria 2012, 2013, 2014. We've gone 10 years backward, and of course now we're talking about suicide bombings again. So, am I wrong for having this concern? And do you think that maybe this is what it is playing out, or is this just a one-off?
What happened, a few days ago was actually very shocking. Shocking in the sense that one had thought we've gone beyond these suicide bombing antics by the terrorists, but there are some reasons behind this. Even if it is a one-off thing, it just goes to show that the terrorists are probably losing some level of steam. Look, it's only they resort to this sort of soft, targets when they lose grip of the actual, kinetic combat with the military. So they devise this sort of, attack on soft locations to drive home their point. There is a valid fear to say, are we going back to 2012, that ascendancy of Boko Haram insurgency? I don't think so. I just see this as one-off thing, and it should be an eye-opener to the military guys who are dealing with this situation. But see, we also need to sit back and take a look at the drivers of these things. What are the root? We need to do some level of root cause analysis to be able to, unearth why this is persisting. Probably we'll look at the, socioeconomic and social volatility of the Sahel region now that makes it possible and quite permissible to see, influx of these terrorists. Of course, don't forget also that there's a strong link between the IPOB and, the global terrorist network. So they're always able to ship in their, their fighters through these porous borders we have. And of course, the fact that we have an unstable Sahel region is, of course, as I heard your report a while ago, you talked about Mauritania. I see what's happening over there. The political instability in the entire Sahel region, are one of those drivers that have kept this thing on. So your fears is not, your fears is valid, but we also want to see this as a one-off thing. And it's an eye-opener, like I said, and I'm sure the military must be taking dressing going forward.
All right. You're saying that we should hope that it's a one-off thing, and we really are hoping that it's a one-off thing. But we can't disagree with the fact that Borno has also taken a lot of insecurity hit. What should be the steps that should be taken going forward to ensure that we're able to protect the people and sort of calm their fears? Because rightfully so, a number of them have expressed their concerns about what might be coming in the nearest future.
But this is exactly the problem, the challenge of this sort of asymmetrical warfare. This is exactly the issue when we talk about terrorism, because you don't know where they're coming from. We might be living with the terrorists, but you never can tell. So it's actually, that's why it's always good not to have insurgency in your hands. Terrorism at all, because once it bends in your location, it takes a very long while before you extricate yourself. So now, if you remember, if you recall the story about this incident, a couple of women who dressed like wedding guests and all manner of things, and even one with a baby, were the ones that detonated this suicide bombing, vests. So how on earth will we be able to do this? Well, I think at this stage we should be able to do more of technology-driven, security effort. Because I think there are some drones that actually can do, actual body search from a distance. Because it is actually very difficult for you to expect the military, for instance, to take care of every situation in that area. What I mean is it possible that we have military that will be able to, whenever you have an event across the length and breadth of Northeast, the military will be there to, guard the event and then check every invited guest? This is just one of the situations. What about the marketplaces? What about the hospital? What about our public spaces? these are vulnerable areas, and it's difficult to, get our military guys the foot on ground to cover all those marked areas. So it's difficult situation, and this also caused at the time when you can say, this is the time you can say people should be able to be much more security conscious. They'll be able to look, see something and say something, as well as say, that's the little the people can do. Should be able to, be able to send information once they get it. Yeah. And, maybe we have to also re-energize the Civilian Joint Task Force. And then we'll do more of another thing I think we should do also is what they call all-of-nation approach, not all of society now, but all-of-nation approach. So that the issue of the Sahel region, the Lake Chad region thing, we've got to get together more to be able to, reinforce that synergy and cooperation between and among these countries in this region. It's becoming worrisome because, of course, that most of these fighters actually seeping through our porous borders across the Sahel.
Yeah, it's a good thing you're mentioning porous borders, because one would expect, and this is the reason that I brought up my concern before, one would expect that 10 years after, we had porous borders in 2012. We've had them even prior to 2012. But one would expect that, in the fight against insurgency, these are some of the things that, every successive administration must have ensured that they fix to some extent. And that's why I mentioned earlier that, my worry is that we've returned, to 2012, that 10 years after, we still cannot boast that we've been able to completely reduce the possibilities of these terror organizations to, first of all, recruit suicide bombers from society, and then also to be able to, have the resources to create these suicide vests. So there's many things that, we cannot boast that, we've been able to do to ensure that we almost never have a repeat of these things in Nigeria again. And that is my worry. So we have a new administration now. Do you think, that they would be able to tackle these things, seeing the approach that they've taken, towards security since they came into office?
Now, that brings me back to what I talked about, the issue of, the fact that we need to do more of root cause analysis of this situation. You see, you cannot get it right when you have pervasive corruption that engenders pervasive poverty, that bring about, people making it easy for people to find crime attractive. Now, those ladies you saw, do you think that if they had a good life, do you think that if they had some level of normal life living, that they will find such thing attractive? The terrorists are able to recruit their the members through these issues we're talking about. People are hungry. People are like in destitution. So it is very easy for them to I'm talking about the terrorists, to co-opt people, to conscript them, to actually make into the mission and say, look, what are you talking about? Are you actually living a life? Come and join us, and we'll give you some respite. So it is easy for terrorists to convince the people who are in dire needs. So that's why we talk about issue of good governance. So this is a very, very important, because we cannot keep talking about how come people are finding it attractive to join terrorists, to be a social bomber, when in actual sense their life out there is nothing to drive them about. So people find it easier or even better to be part of the whole crime network, because the ordinary society is not giving them this respite they needed. So we're talking about the need for us to sit back and look at those drivers of these issues. How is government able to make life and living better for the people? Northeast is known as one of the poorest regions in the world. How come that we've not been able to look at these issues? Do you think that the hordes of young men and women out there in the Northeast, wandering hopelessly, in hunger and abject poverty, do you think that they will remain like that? They can fall for just as little as 5,000 naira, and they will take they will take a course that will shock you. So we must look into issue of good governance. We must look into issue of human rights and justice. Justice system, for instance. We must look into issue of allocating resources the way it should go around, so the people live normal life, so that they will not find crime attractive. So this is what I'm talking about. So I agree with you when you say that, yes, indeed, how come we're not able to rein in a situation after how many years? You talked about border, building maybe, are you talking about physical border, building physical fence? Do you have the resources? Do you know what we're talking? Do you know the area we're talking about? Do you know the expanse, nature of that particular northeast? Do we have the resources to do that? Look, these are very complex. So we need to, sit back and see how can we rein in. For me, the first step is good governance. That's the first step.
And I'm glad that you've brought up the conversation about good governance, highlighting the needs of the average Nigerian, the needs to feed, and the security needs. Now, whilst we can all agree that Nigeria's insecurity challenges predate the current administration, I'd like us to look at the role that the current administration has played and how it's handled it. The former Vice President of Nigeria, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, whilst criticizing the Borno attack, also talked about the government's government's lackluster position in holding the front line. So how would you say that this government has fared in how much it could have, or it has handled Nigeria's security challenges?
I've not seen any marked difference between this government and previous in terms of confronting frontally the raging security challenges across the country. We've talked about the issue of deploying the political will to deal with some of these situations. Look at the issue of the Southeast, for instance. How is government not able to see that the best approach now is political will to deal with the situation? Why are you still holding on to Nnamdi Kanu when you know that the releasing him could actually bring some level of peace in the Southeast? Now you look at the Northwest, for instance. How are you able to believe that you can get it right when people are living in horrible abject poverty, and you have, like we talked about, Sahel region being destabilized and making it easy for people, criminals to come in. So this government have not shown, for me, even though the plans are there, probably they are, but people need to seek, results in terms of how are we able to hold back and then protect our people. That has not been shown in a very concrete terms. What is needed more now, as far as I'm concerned, is the political will. This president must, stand his feet to say, look, I'm in charge, and there are things I can handle, politically, to be able to give our people some respite. You see, I'm not in the class of those who say we must not criticize government. We have to tell them the truth at some time, so that probably they will set some testing. So I'm here saying that we must look towards political solution to some of these things, because most of them are actually a result of some misgovernance and some bad political and all manner of things. So poverty and destitution that you see across the country is actually wrought on us by ineptitude and bad governance. That cause between level of corruption. So if we're able to handle this, then we should be able to progress far. Yeah. So this present government, having known this fact, should be able to look beyond just mere kinetics. It's not just about asking our military to go and fire them, to go and shoot. The military does not have the magic wand with which they can wave the security challenges and they disappear. Those who possess the magic wand are actually those in the leadership position, because good governance is the magic wand we have. Once we have good governance, you have solved the problem almost up to 60%. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say.
The non-kinetic aspects of it, are very important. In other societies, I believe that there are certain ingredients and resources that you need to create or to make a bomb. And if you go anywhere and purchase these things to be beyond a certain quantity, you will be questioned, or at least you would have eyebrows raised. And that's maybe why it's difficult for the United States, to have bombs going off every now and then, because there are certain regulations that just make it difficult for you to put those things together in the first place. But Nigeria is a different story entirely. We've complained about porous borders for decades, and you've not seen any administration say to themselves that this particular problem, we would make sure that we address it. There's none. They just, come and go, and, nobody really takes that, as a major. It is one of Nigeria's major security challenges, the porous borders that we have. Mr. Omeje, I want you to also respond to those who say that using suicide bombers is a sign that the government has been able to belittle the ability of these terrorist organizations to carry out other forms of attacks. And so they're having to re-strategize to then use suicide bombers because their manpower is down, their sources of ammunition has been reduced, and some of all of that. Can this be seen as a sign of victory in that regard, that we've defeated them to some extent, and so they're now resorting to using suicide bombers?
But I said that before in my opening remark. I said that recourse to suicide bombing and all manner of self-target stuff, it's just indicative of the fact that they are losing grip in that fight. The military guys have actually put them in this enormous pressure, so that they don't have any respite, no sanctuary anymore. So they are floating more or less, but confined in some areas where from there they plan this sort of society. It's actually, you are actually right. I agree with you that the fact that they are going back to these suicide bombing and stuff like that is just to show that it's just quite clear that the military guys are putting them under enormous pressure. And I encourage the military. I ask them to remain resilient, focused, so that these guys should be able to leave us alone for now. But I think that you made a point about how come I have access to some of these materials using and stuff. I'm asking you a question. What aspect of our country have you gotten right, as a matter of fact? I mean, every now and then you see things that are quite unbelievable happening. Okay, look at what the customs have just shown us that they were able to track. What about the ones that they were unable to track, and that right there in our in the society? So this things happen on a daily basis. So you see, sometimes it's even beyond the government. Actually, it's about the people. How are people able to hold back from crime? But this is also where government comes in also, because good governance, like I say, is always the key. If you have good governance, like you have in other climes, people will find crime and criminality less attractive. So I agree with you. Back to the question, yes, the terrorists are going back to suicide bombing because they are unable to face the military squarely. They are unable to take on the military. They are unable to measure up in terms of the kinetic combat they have on ground. I agree with that.
Okay. And of course, still talking about terrorism now. I'm hoping that the investigation will be able to identify who exactly is responsible, because we don't know what we're currently dealing with. If it is Boko Haram, if it is ISWAP, if it is bandits, or if this is a new group entirely. How much would that also help us with this conversation? Would the Nigerian government be able to identify and honestly tell Nigerians what the situation is on ground? Who is, of course, behind this terrorist attack? And of course, what they need to do to tackle it?
But of course, that these terrorists have never, hidden their faces each time, or rather their footprints each time they commit each time they carry out any operation. So we're waiting to see. Maybe in the coming days we'll see video clips, or see how they did it. Because I know, of course, in the past they've always you have one police stunt or the other to show Nigerians that they're formidable. So well, this is the job of the intelligence asset. The intelligence people should be able to unravel this situation and tell Nigerians exactly who is behind a particular atrocious incident that happened that a couple of days back. But like Boko Haram or even the ISWAP are never shy in terms of publicity. But the good thing is that there is actually a serious divide, a serious rivalry, deadly rivalry between ISWAP and Boko Haram. So they don't work hand in hand anymore, because so it's like a free fall over there. Every of these terrorist group trying to outdo each other in terms of how they can inflict pain and misery on people. So maybe in the coming days we'll get to see who did that. Like I said, they don't shy away. They tell you if they did it. So we know. But then again, I think that we have a robust intelligence network there that should be able to unravel who carried out that particular dastardly act.
Okay.
All right, we're going to just wait for more information. We hope that we can get to the root cause of this and see who actually carried out this attack. And like you said, we hope that this is a one-off and also a reflection of the fact that they are desperate because we are winning the war against insecurity. We thank you so much for your time with us this morning.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
In his controversial nature, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has asserted that Senator Ireti Kingibe, who represents the FCT, will not return to the Senate in 2027. This comes in response to Ireti Kingibe's criticism in an Arise TV interview, where she claimed that the FCT residents were unimpressed with Wike's performance, citing a lack of attention to issues that directly affect the constituency, citing absence of water in major residential areas as one of her concerns.
Wike, defending his short tenure, emphasized his achievements and criticized Kingibe for not collaborating with the FCT administration.
What you don't know, you don't know. What you know, you know. And the good thing for you is to tell people that, look, I don't know this. And people will educate you. The Honorable Minister of State and my humble self, we have not been in office for more than 10 months, 11 months. And to the glory of God, the person is angry that they are praising us. If you don't want, go and hang yourself in a transformer. Yes. If you're angry, go and hang yourself. If we have done well, we have done well. If we have not done well, we have not done well. And we are proud to say, he said there are no schools. He said there are no hospitals. You as a legislator, what have you done? How many bills have you sponsored for us to improve our education and our health sector? How many? I challenge that legislator, if you are very, very popular, 2027, come and run under Abuja. We will fail you. You think that what happened last time will happen again? You think so? It will not happen again. If you are popular, come and run. Luckily for me, I'm the FCT minister now. So here is my territory. I'm not afraid.
It would seem that the drama has moved from Rivers State to the FCT. And very interestingly, it's been a while we heard him speak about Rivers State, but he's very, very vocal about what's happening in the FCT, and we find that quite interesting. Now, at the start of the conversation this morning, that was the core of our conversation, and what was a bit worrisome was the confidence with which he spoke about sort of her not having the opportunity to come back in the 2027 elections, almost akin to the sort of usurping the authority of the people. It is the people that put a leader in office. It's the people that determine who get there. So imagine him saying, you know, luckily for me, it's my territory. If you think you are that popular, go, we will fail you. Who is the we that he speaks about? Is he the people? Does he represent the will of the people? You know, that's one conversation. But yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing. And I thought it's good to mention, you know, that he is not, you know, from the FCT, you know. So when he says we, it's not like, oh, we, the people of the FCT, you know. He's from River State, you know, only just became FCT minister a year ago, you know. So it's not a we thing. There's no we with Nyesom Wike and the FCT, right? That's one thing. And I find it very, very embarrassing, you know, and I don't know which other word to describe, you know, how disgusting, you know, I feel, or disgusted rather I feel with hearing the minister of the FCT telling a senator to go and hog transformer. You know, it's very, 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 you know, terrible, you know, statement to be made in public. And you see people there laughing. Other fellow politicians and members of the public, they're laughing. There's nothing funny in a statement like that from one political leader to another, that she should go and hug Transformer.
If we're, juxtaposing the conversation, his interview, his press release, or whatever it is, alongside her interview where she spoke about her concerns, you could see the grace with which she spoke about it. Yes, she was not very pleased about it, but she was not disrespectful in the way that she handled it. And she oftentimes would say, it's not necessarily about the person, it's about the office. That the office of the FCT, the office of the minister of the FCT, definitely has to work with the senator. It's not a thing of friendship, and it's not a thing of him in particular, that it's the office. And she did make reference to some portions of the Constitution and the Evidence Act. Yeah. So it's the manner, and I completely agree with you. It was very lacking of grace. It was rather uncouth. And it's very lacking of respect that I think that political leaders should show each other. And it's okay for you not to agree with the person, but you can disagree quite gracefully.
People have always said that Nyesom Wike has always, right from when he was governor, all through the years that he was governor, he was always acted like an emperor, and that's why you can hear these types of statements. Like, thank God I'm the minister of the FCT now, I'm in charge of this place, so, and of course, just all the other things that he's also said, to her, carrying himself like he's King Herod or any of these, characters in the Bible that...
their word is the law and it's final. Nobody can challenge them.
And everyone who has said that, he continues to give more credence to those types of statements. And again, like I said earlier, the concern that I have is him painting a picture to make it seem like it is not the people of the FCT who will decide who will be their senator in 2027.
And I think to add to that, the concern that I have would be also that it takes away from the doctrine of separation of powers. Each office or each arm of the government should checkmate the other. So if you're completely saying that you as the executive, you don't want to be checked,
or
you're not answerable. I do feel that each of these arms have been given certain responsibilities and certain powers to be able to ensure that there is balance. So if you as the executive, you are the one that is coming out boldly to say that you will determine if the legislature will be able to get into office, then there's a problem there. But we're not the ones who will be looking at this. We have joining us Ife Salako. We'll go on a very, very short break, and when we come back, we'll delve into the conversation properly with him. Whilst we talk about the flaw on Nyesom Wike's part, let's also see what exactly Riti Kingigbe has done. We'll be right back.
Welcome once again. Now, let's get you through the newspapers. We will get into the conversation concerning the FCT Minister and Senator Riti Kingigbe right after our newspaper review this morning. Remember, you can be a part of it. Quickly call the numbers on your screen or tweet at us this morning at News Central TV. If you have thoughts on any of the things that we're discussing, please feel free to share with us your thoughts. We're kicking off this morning, and of course, quickly welcoming Ikechukwu Amechi. He's the publisher of the Niche newspapers. Thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure, sir.
Interesting times across Nigeria, and I'm sure you're excited to share your thoughts on these stories.
All right, so let's get into the papers this morning, starting off with the Daily Independent newspaper. On the front page of the Daily Independent, Borno bomb attacks, fight against terrorism must be total, uncompromising, according to the ACF. INEC lists 42 recommendations to improve electoral process. Court dismisses Nnamdi Kanu's 1 billion naira rights suit against federal government. RSIEC fixes October 5 or October 5th for Rivers Council elections. Unmanned aerial vehicle, not helicopter, crashed NAF. NAF clarifies. Federal government debunks report of explosion at Zungeru power plant. Nigeria police force wasn't established to succeed, according to the Senate leader. Canvasses decentralized police model as antidote to insecurity. Ukraine foils Russian-backed coup. Customs intercepts 844 rifles, 102,500 ammunition in Rivers. And finally, Nigeria's capital importation rose by 210% in Q1 2024, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. And that's all on the Daily Independent. Let's move to the Vanguard.
All right, the Vanguard newspapers this morning. Economic crisis, slump in port operations puts 40,000 jobs at risk, says an investigation. Cargo imports drop by 20%. Containerized goods 30% and vehicles 55% as vessels calls reduce. SDGs, 63% of Nigerians still wallow in poverty, says Tinubu's aide. Goza attacks. Shatima visits as ACF. Southern senators want action against terror. Customs impounds container load of rifles from Turkey at Onne. Top of the screen there, Wike to Kingibe will unseat you in 2027. 2024 Hajj, half of the government and 8 states splashed 100.6 billion naira on pilgrims. Those are the stories on the Vanguard this morning. Quickly, I think we can take first news and then we bring in our guest.
Right. On the front page of First News, rivalry intensifies. I think that's a big story we'll most likely start with. Wike vows to unseat Senator Kingibe in 2027. Court dismisses Nnamdi Kanu's 1 billion naira human rights suit against federal government. U.S. Supreme Court rules Trump partially immune from criminal prosecution. Customs intercepts arms, ammunition, drugs from Turkey worth 4 billion naira. Rivers sets date for local government elections amid ongoing crisis. Tragic crash, beg your pardon, claims 25 lives on Kano Zaria Expressway. Fake alcoholic beverages. NAFDAC shuts down 100 shops in Enugu. Alleged 80 billion naira fraud. CSOs urge swift prosecution of Yahaya Bello. 121.86 trillion naira debt. Obi demands transparency. Nigeria's borrowing spree. Shehu Sani warns Tinubu avoid Buhari's nepotistic appointment mistakes. Is it a little too late? Anyway, let's start off with the Rivers. Sorry, I said Rivers because anytime you hear Nyesom Wike, typically, once you hear Nyesom Wike and rivalry, you typically think Rivers, but now it's FCT. What do you make of the rivalry, would seem, or the chaos happening between him and Ireti Kingibe?
What I make of it is, it simply explains Wike's cantankerous nature and inability to function in a group unless he is the only one who is making all the rules, and every other person must kowtow to whatever he wants. You see, this fight with Ireti Kingibe, and don't forget, Ireti is the elected representative of the people. She is the senator, the only senator that we have in the Federal Capital Territory. Wike, for crying out loud, is an appointee of the president. He's a minister. He's an appointee of the president. Kingibe is responsible as the senator to the people. So this issue of Wike, Rivers, Wike, Abuja, and sheer hubris, we will unseat you. As at the last time I checked, Wike still has 1 vote. If this is a democracy, and Wike does not vote in the Federal Capital Territory, Wike has his destiny in Rivers State.
Yes.
Obiabo, to be precise. He has no vote, no single vote in the Federal Capital Territory. And who is he to boast that he will unseat Ireti Kingibe? Where are the people in Abuja? Where are the electorate in Abuja that should decide in a democracy who gets what, who is elected and who is not elected? Every day we come here and talk about these things and talk about the tendencies of Wike. Wike, I'm sorry to say, represents all that is bad in our democracy. All that is bad in our democracy. This is not a dictatorship. This is the same thing he did in Rivers State, why he went out of his way to tell us, to boast that he bought forms for everybody, from the governor to the
House of Assembly members.
Everybody. This is not. Wike represents the ugliest face of Nigeria's democracy. The president should rein him in. The president should rein him in. Because, he thinks he's all and all. This is not democracy, for crying out loud. This is not.
When you say the president should rein him in, how does that work? And if Mr. President doesn't, what does that say to you?
How that works is that he's an appointee of the president. And therefore, the president should be held accountable for what his appointees do. He is a minister and must respect. I doubt if Wike respects even the president that he claims to be serving. Because there are things you do, and you know you are bringing bad name to the government you say you are defending. That is what Wike does. And if the president does not rein him in, it then means that Wike will continue on this trajectory. And that does not speak well of President of President Bola Tinubu. Because people say he is a quintessential Democrat. He is an epitome of whatever it takes to function in a democracy.
I'm sorry, Olive. Are there political benefits that Mr. President might get from Nyesom Wike?
And, as a follow-up to that question, still on that front page, Shehu Sani had said he had warned President Bola Tinubu to avoid nepotism when making appointments. So do you think that maybe there was some element of nepotism? I think that sort of is in relation to the question he's just asked.
Wike's asset, and why I think President Bola Tinubu appointed him was, of course, the role he played with G5 governors and the magic he did in Rivers State. Look, let's be real. The elections in Rivers State in 2023 were the most rigged in this country. And it is on record. Even foreign reporters, BBC and others, had a very good analysis of what happened in Rivers State. So Wike used, look, this man, even if we don't go by any other report, this man said he bought forms for everybody and made sure that all of them won elections. He even stopped other political parties from even going out there to campaign.
All right.
That is not democracy.
Let's hear from someone calling from Abuja. Mr. Onyeka is calling from Abuja. Good morning. Thanks for calling. Please go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, good morning. Please go ahead with your comment.
That is not democracy.
Can you please turn down the volume of your TV set before you calling to aid our conversation?
Okay, I should turn on the television.
All right. Please, if you would like to have you call us back, but turn down the volume of your TV set before you call again. Thank you. Now, we've talked about Nyesom Wike's part. Let's talk about Ireti King-Igwe and how she has fared. The argument he did say to her that, he said, what has she done that she's criticizing him, that what bills has she sponsored to support education and the health sector? So how would you say that, she has fared so far as senator of the FCT? And does she have some blame in maybe how she has been marginalized?
I don't think that the Abuja people are complaining about how Ireti King-Igwe is representing them. If you know Wike well, Wike wants to dominate any environment he finds himself. And that is what he is doing. Ireti King-Igwe was elected to represent the people of Abuja. And therefore, what needs to be done, what Ireti said that provoked Wike, he said, look, there must be some capacity building.
Right.
You must invest in what matters to the people. Okay, you are building roads, you are building bridges like you did in Rivers State. But go to Rivers State and find out, despite the so-called Mr. Project,
they're not very pleased.
All right, hold on. Onyeka, good morning. Welcome once again.
Hello?
Morning, go ahead.
Good morning, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. I completely agree with the speaker that is in your studio. Honestly, this week menace is getting out of hand. Not like your guest in the studio is saying. Mr. Tinubu should rein him in. This is unfortunate. Not like he has said, an appointee of the Mr. President, a minister who just has one vote, assuming the voting time comes in 2027, is straighting a sitting senator that was elected under Labour Party. I'm a member of the Labour Party. We voted that woman. So I do not think we can have all this, except with the shenanigans of the APC that we all know has been happening. Look at, just like your guest said, Mr. Project, all the projects in River State and all the River Bridge and everything, an avenue to siphon money. People, the grassroots that are thrown in River State have never been affected by Mr. Project. If you go to River State and go through various routes in the hinterlands nothing has happened. That's the truth. Now, the same thing in Abuja is for to propagate their way to siphon more money. Mr. Project of Abuja again is the same thing. You understand? People living in the hinterlands in Abuja, different areas in Abuja, Lugbe, Karu, very many places. He's not touching those areas. It's the same painting of the roads, doing some other bridges, so that they can collect money. That's my position. So, Mr. President, APC should call this man to order. He has no power except in the rigging machine in 2027 that APC will unseat a sitting governor of Labour Party in Abuja here, and that will not happen. We're on ground. We are the obedience, and I'm sincerely happy with your guest that is saying the truth. Thank you very much.
Before you end the call, very quickly, you put her in, but would you say that you're happy with how she has represented the people? That's Ireti Kingibe. Unfortunately, we lost the call.
I just also want to throw in, the video that we just aired, the FCT minister. I don't even think that represents the character. I mean, they can dance, no doubt, but these are not the type of things that Nigerians want to see. Nobody wants to see some wicked dancing.
But it's not today now. It's a normal thing.
I know.
What's the name of that other man? That was an entertainer.
It just doesn't. It's not the type of thing that Nigerians would like to see at any time.
Also,
correct.
The truth is that there are some adjectives I don't want to use to qualify Nyesom Wike on television. But like I said earlier, the guy, for me, represents the ugliest face of Nigeria's
politics. All right.
Democracy.
Let's quickly have you speak on the bombing in Borno State and also the arms that the customs intercepted, about more than 800 rifles.
Up to the tune of 4 billion naira.
Yeah.
Wait, the bombing in Borno and of course the arms interception still confirms one thing. Nigeria, the security situation in Nigeria is still very, very poor. Insecurity, nobody has been able to tame insecurity. Sometimes I laugh when the federal government or people speaking for the federal government will tell you they have subdued Boko Haram, they have done this, they have done that, they are only now targeting soft targets.
Targets, yes.
But what makes these Borno bombings more scary is the fact that we thought that we had dealt with the issue of
bombing. We apologize. Tony, good morning. Go ahead. Quickly, please.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Very quickly, please.
Okay, thank you. I want to comment on Wike's issue. We have a lot of Wike that is politician. The character that Wike is playing, if you come down to different states, we have a lot of them. And that shows you how weak our electoral system is. We see politicians bragging, doing all these things, and at the end, what they say will happen is a sign of telling you that the electoral system we have in the country is not functioning very well. And to me, it's quite unfortunate. Completely quite. Watch it on 2027. What Wike say will happen in Abuja. Watch it. It will happen because of the kind of electoral system that we have. Thank you and good morning.
Thanks a lot, Tony. Let's go ahead.
So we have real security issues in this country. And how porous our borders are. that arms, small arms, are being brought in every day.
Yes.
Honestly, also, I don't know how we're going to solve the problem of insecurity in this country. But the truth of the matter is that we are not denting this issue of insecurity. It continues to, you think you have solved one area. I've traveled to Polka, to Goza. I was in Maiduguri for about 2 weeks after the killing of the Boko Haram leader in those days, Mohammed.
Yes.
And I know how bad some of these things are. To imagine that in the year 2024, that we still have suicide bombers, women strapping themselves with bombs and going to die. What are they fed with? Because it takes a whole insanity for any human being to go there and commit suicide, literally. What is the promise? That you're going to go to heaven, or that God ordered you to do that? So the point I'm trying to make is that we've not also dealt with the indoctrination that leads to somebody.
I mean, there's also the possibility that these are some of the people that have been kidnapped that are then used as suicide bombers. You know, and nobody really knows who this woman was or where she was coming from. But, you know, there's no doubt whatsoever that we still are in a very, very big mess. You know, and, you know, the question you asked earlier, you know, how do we deal with insecurity in the country? Everyone keeps saying political will, political will, political will, but I don't know that there's any other answer. It has to be a government that truly is ready to actually deal with it, and that includes fixing the issues with our porous borders, ensuring that, you know, service chiefs and IG of police and, you know, every other aspect that improves security, and that also includes the welfare of the people. Because if you are that poor that you can strap yourself with a suicide vest, there's what, more than 100 million people that are in that level.
The truth of the matter is that we have had politicians, particularly since 2015, when APC came to power, that have played more politics with insecurity than actually going out there to fight insecurity. And as long as, you know, and insecurity has also become a very big industry.
Absolutely.
For some people. There are people in this country who don't even want this to stop because they are making a whole lot of money, including those in government.
Yes.
So it is a hydra-headed monster that I doubt if we're going to get out of it.
I mean, every other day we're hearing about sponsors of terrorism, but we never get to see any arrest investigations being done. So we have a long way to go. Mr. Amici, thank you so much for joining us for the newspapers. We're always glad to have you.
The pleasure is mine.
All right. And we'll go on a break. And when we come back, we're still going to be looking at the drama going on between the Labour Party's senator and the senator of the Federal Capital Territory, I beg your pardon, and former Governor Nyesom Wike. We're joined this morning by Labour Party spokesperson, Ife Salako, and he's going to be sharing with us his thoughts on the matter. Stay with us. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We have been discussing the ongoing rivalry between the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike and the Senator of the FCT, Ireti Kingigbe. And this morning, joining us to discuss this is Labour Party spokesperson, Lagos State, Ife Salako. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Hello, good morning.
I would ask you your thoughts about Nyesom Wike's response, but I want to assume that you also believe the same thing that a number of people have shared on the show this morning. But I'd give you the floor. What do you think about Nyesom Wike's response before we come to Ireti Kingigbe? His stance first, how he's handled things, and his response to her complaint.
Well, Nyesom Wike has always been a ruthless politician. He's not is shameless about it. He's a drama king who goes about performing different theatrical activities, all in the name of being delivering good governance. And we can see that when he was a governor, proving that, I mean, this was the same man who gathered a group of traditional rulers, and he spoke to them in a very rude and condescending manner. And, you can tell that this is the same person who feels that he's the alpha and omega of the Nigerian politics. Even if you can see that his protege now is showing to him that, man, you can't own it all. So he's always been like this. He's always been intimidating. That's his own style of politics. So coming to the fact that Senator Ireti Kingebe wanted to work with him. You see, in corporate organizations, even in this organization, there would be people who are not best of friends. But you see, when you have to now mic someone who is supposed to mic you, who doesn't talk to you, is not your friend, doesn't have to be your friend. But the person has to do the job. He has to mic you. And that is where the thing is. So if Wike likes it or not, Senator Ireti Kingebe, as it is stated clearly, is the only elected officer outside the president in that space that should be respected and given the authority to perform our duty. So Wike needs to understand this. But is Wike a respecter of the Constitution? Is Wike a respecter of the system and structure? No. Right? So this is a man who openly declared his support for an opposition party, and there has been video evidences of people whom he used to rig the election in favor of APC, who had come out to say, Wike asked us to rig election. Labour Party won the election in Rivers State, but we rigged it for APC because Wike wanted us to rig it for APC. And such a man should actually be in prison. If we have a country that is functioning, if we have a country where the judiciary is working, the law enforcement agencies are doing what they are supposed to do, Wike is supposed to be in prison.
So why do you think that isn't the case? And, our previous guest, also made mention of the role the president should play now. President Tinubu should rein in, Nyesom Wike, as, of course, his appointee. Do you think that should happen also, or do you think?
Well, I don't know. From the body language of the president, I'm not even sure he's really ready to harmonize the country and bring everybody together, and harmonize the political differences that we have here. I don't think the president is such a person. He is from what I've seen, is people's kind of person. So if you are with him, you are with him. If you're not in his political circle, it doesn't seem like he's interested in whatever is happening to you. That is the body language I'm saying from the president. So I would call on the president to please mediate in this thing and resolve the issue, because whether you like it or not, right, it is the people. The people that, you see, when two elephants fight, they say the grass will suffer. The people that will still suffer at the federal capital, not even Senator Ireti Kingebe, not Wike himself. It will be the people. So if you are for the people, Mr. President should call them together and say, look, this woman is here. She's the senator in this.
To be honest, I mean, once I hear everyone saying Mr. President should be called in, I just feel like it's a failure of systems and structures on our part that we are always seeing, any small thing, they say, let's call him Mr. President. Mr. President will wade in Rivers crisis. Mr. President will wade in Abuja crisis. There should be already laid down systems and structures that ensure that people who are in office respect these systems and structures and don't need the president to come and babysit them.
Thank you very much. I have been saying it, that we are practicing a monarchical democracy. Like, it is the democracy that is still running like a monarchy. So the president of Nigeria, the president, the governor, the senators, and some of these other people that are holding political offices are being perceived as, some overall head of one head traditional. Because if not, even the president himself should be put to check and balance. Have you seen any Nigerian president, ex-president, being asked questions about how they, run the office whilst they were there? Today, we're dragging Emefiele up and down. Emefiele did everything without the consent of President Buhari. We are running a system that seems to give absolute power to anybody who has been able to attain that level of, and you see a lot of it has to do with some of our religious understanding of life, our traditional ethnic understanding of life, that will make you think that, oh, once he's in position of power, respect him, don't talk.
I think there's some.
If there are system, if there are, like you rightly said, if there are system and processes that gives account, that makes everybody accountable, we don't need anybody to mediate it.
But I think there's some unspoken agreement, between presidents previous presidents and, current presidents to never probe each other. I think there's some agreement. It's in the back of the Constitution that we just don't get to read it.
If we read
same thing with governors also.
For a minute, I was looking at him like, where is he going
It's
to?
at the back of the Constitution. If you look this behind here, it said don't probe, the common president.
But it's a valid point that you've raised there. But in reference to the CBN one, maybe the argument would be that the CBN is an autonomous body in itself. But let's bring in Ireti Kingibe.
Yeah.
We'll talk about CBN much later.
She was criticized by Nyesom. Of course, he also asked, about her relevance and what she's done for the people of the FCT. So can you say that she truly has represented the people of the FCT? Has she pushed bills? Has she, acted in the National Assembly fully in representation of the FCT?
So there is the thing with women fighting for their rightful positions in Nigeria. Up to date, we know that there's been. You see, when you listen to government officials and they say that, oh, we will give women 25% represent. It is demeaning. It doesn't speak well. You don't give human being that is a citizen of a particular place. You don't give them some percentage of anything. You ask if they are capable, any one of them. There is nothing stopping us from having a house that is about 60% women and 40% men.
Absolutely not.
If they are capable of, so it's always been that women always fight their way through anything in this country, and the same thing is happening with Senator Ireti Kingibe. She has been up and doing. She would go out. She would mediate with the people. She would organize what's it called, town hall meetings with the people to understand them. When you listen to her, she keeps saying it, that the people are coming to me to ask. They are coming to ask for health. They're coming to ask for education. They're coming to ask for things that matters to them. They are not coming to ask for roads that leads to Asokoro.
Or Maitama.
Right. They are coming to ask for things that matters to them. And because she's the only senator in that space, it puts her in a very controversial position. So she is on her right to ask that, come, let's do this thing, let's work together. And of course, she has sponsored a bill in November last year. And she sponsored a bill for the nursery and midwifery hospital, something like that, at the Federal Capital Territory. You can see where our interest is in health. Go and read all the bills, several bills that are there. It is either in one road construction or most of those bills are, you would see that they are driven from personal interest. But someone that is looking out for the health of her people, that's the bill she sponsored.
All right. Can we also talk about what maybe a different way? Is there a different way she should have handled it? And yes, I do agree with you that a number of times many people would say that women in political positions have to fight twice as much to be able to establish dominance or establish relevance, which shouldn't be the case. But is there anything she could have done differently to have achieved a different result? Do you think also that if you were someone from a different political party, maybe his own political party, that the relationship would have been different?
Oh yeah, of course. If this is politically driven, nothing else. this whole issue is politically driven. If Senator Ireti Kingibe had been a member of the APC, we wouldn't be hearing
Like she was before.
Oh, of course, as she was before, and she was also in the PDP. You know, at some point she was in ANPP or something like that. You know, so she's thrived.
So do you think if she was still a member of the APC, that he would have treated her differently?
It is even the fact that she left APC that she's getting this kind of treatment. Let's call it spade.
But do we have any proof?
Maybe not necessarily, you know,
just like it was said that it was at the back of the Constitution.
No, but here's the thing. So maybe not necessarily, you know, but I think, you know, a lot of people will still lean to the argument that Nyesom Wike is Nyesom Wike. He behaves like an emperor, you know, to a large extent. You know, he is in charge of every decision that goes through anything that concerns him. And like he said, he is in charge of the FCT, which is pretty much the same thing as, you know, implemented in River State. So even if, you know, I mean, he and Simfobara are both in the PDP, so, and that hasn't stopped their rivalry or the issues between them. So I don't necessarily think it is because of the Labour Party, you know, aspect. Even if he did mention, you know, that, oh, you think that, what did he say? You think what happened before will happen again? You know, and I'm thinking he's referring to the Labour Party's victory in 2023. But I want to ask now, this is a senator representing the FCT. There are other senators in the House, in the National Assembly. Nyesom Wike is an appointee of President Tinubu. Would you expect, in a situation like this, that the senators will speak in support of their fellow senator? And also, where are the other Labour Party senators? Well,
I mean, the reality is that we would expect that some of the senators, not all of them would, you know, a whole lot of them, they do things politically. They think of their political affiliations first before thinking of what they want to do for the people. So, but I still expect that some of them will still have the dignity to stand up and say, oh, Oga Wike, you need to work with this woman to get things done in Abuja for the people of Abuja, you know. And of course, I agree with you. Wike he has always been the emperor that he's been like forever. And there is no limit to where he can take that to, you know, for him to say yesterday that if people are not happy with their style of government, they should go hang themselves. This is coming from the mouth of a minister of the Federal Capital Territory to the people. Any responsible government should not allow that minister back into his office. Like, from that place, Wike should be sent home. Because it just doesn't make any sense. You are telling the people to go hang themselves for the kind of failure that we have experienced under this government in the shortest time.
All right, but again, where are the other senators in the Labour Party? And, you know, where is anybody right to question their relevance in the National Assembly since the elections?
Well, I mean, I also expect more from some of our senators, the Labour Party senators in the Assembly. You see, because as it were, the way the National Assembly is structured, the bicameral structure of the National Assembly, yes, where we have some of them at the upper chamber and the lower chamber. I expect that by now we should have been seeing some sort of exceptional character from these people, proving that, oh, we are coming from this particular party and we're really, really different from them, from the others.
So are you disappointed?
To some extent, I am.
Is there any particular ones that you would point to?
No, none of them. No, not one in particular. But I'm saying that we, the Labour Party members, we, the obedient, we expect more from these senators representing the Labour Party at both the upper and the lower chamber. They need to do more. Ireti Kingibe, for instance, cannot be going through all of this, and we're not seeing them coming out to call for a press conference to say, this is our stand, this is what we expect of you, this is what we want from the minister. They should rally around this, because if this is from other parties, even the ruling party, you would see them, all of them come around, and that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if there was a bill this week for the purchase of a new presidential jet for Mr. President, will Labour Party members or senators speak against it?
I don't expect any of them to give his or accent to such a bill, because it will be absolutely ridiculous.
But what of the vehicles, when it was time for vehicles, brand new SUVs to be received? A lot of them were criticized because they didn't reject it.
So, yeah, this is the thing about that vehicle. I've said it before, like, excuse me, those vehicles have been budgeted for before they got to the office, before they got, and they've been bought. So they are 400 and something or 300 and something, and they've bought these vehicles already. And so if you reject it, here's what's going to happen. The vehicle is going to be at the floor of the National Assembly, in the compound, and it's going to be there for the 4 years or whatever, or they'll just divert it to something.
Well, they could have probably moved
Hold on. And I'm saying that you don't have to reject it, but you don't have to also use it.
Yeah, but that's the reason I'm asking these questions, because what Nigerians are saying is that a lot of people haven't seen any difference in the behavior of Labour Party members.
I agree with you. And so maybe the vehicle may not be the best way to explain it, because ideally these things are there. Let me just round up what I was saying about the vehicle. I said if I was there, I'll take the vehicle, I'll take it to my constituency. And one of the things that happens is that people go to weddings, even up to now, people come and tell you, sir, please, we need your car, we want to do wedding on Saturday. So I'll just park the car there at my office. Anybody that wants to get married, come and be carrying this motor. I will fuel it, I will take care of it. Just come and carry it, go and get married. When we are done, we'll use it for 4 years. Take it, bring it back. I'll carry it and return to them at the National Assembly.
Maybe a different position would have been what Nigerians expected from them.
People
would have been to stand strongly and speak against it, since you are showing your allegiance to the
I'm saying that speaking against such a bill that has been passed is not necessary. But for
your voice will be registered, at least. None of them.
You're speaking against bill that, it's like talking to a dead body. A bill that has been passed, what do you want to say?
No.
I'm being particular as regards the vehicle.
Yeah, let's move away from the vehicle.
Okay.
Generally, can you point to any time? Because, as much as, Labour Party and Nigerians want to be critical of President Muhammadu Buhari or the FCT minister, Labour Party senators also need to be put under the fire to some extent. So is there any time that you can point to that the Labour Party member of the National Assembly has spoken out and said, and criticized the current administration and said that they completely do not agree with the way the government is being run?
Yes, there is a House of Rep member from I think Abia, so I can't remember in particular. Recently, just before the celebration of the Democracy Day celebration, the June 12th celebration, she spoke that. So what are we celebrating? This is a country that has been plagued with poverty consistently, no improvements economically and all. And what happened to her? She was being shut down by the same leaders of the National Assembly. So I am saying that for the Labour Party representative, we just expect more from them, not like they are not performing or they are not doing what they're supposed to do. We are saying that they are like the Jesus Christ of that assembly. Much is expected of them.
All right. Do you expect that there will be some form of an apology as quickly as possible to Ireti Kingigbe?
From who?
From Nyesom Wike.
From Wike to Ireti Kingigbe. Wike is not that kind of man that I don't even think he respects any woman for that matter. I don't think so. So if you are here talking about expecting any form of apology from Wike, it's we are going to be at the shore of the beach expecting to see the crabs to blink. It's not going to happen.
All right. Professor Lako, thank you very much for stopping by. I'm good, that certain things have been established in the conversation, which is, your shared disappointment with Labour Party representatives in the National Assembly. I'm sure a lot of people feel that way also.
Absolutely.
Would like to speak with you again.
I mean, I would love to see how this plays out.
Absolutely.
Interesting one. We've talked about the Labour Party drama and how Nigerians, of course, feel some level of displeasure. But this time around, we're going to head to social media to see what Nigerians are saying about the drama between Labour Party's Ireti Kingigbe and the FCT minister in a moment. Today on What Nigerians Are Saying, it's Ireti Kingigbe versus Nyesom Wike. It's been an ongoing drama with she complaining that they haven't been able to work together. In an interview, she mentioned that the citizens in Abuja have complained about a number of their needs not being met, complained about the fire incident, the fact that there wasn't access to water, and that the fire trucks had to drive a very long distance to get access to water. And she said a number of these complaints were made directly to her and not to the FCT minister, of course, because she's the only elected representative of the people in Abuja. The former governor of Rivers State, who is, of course, the minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, has now reacted. He reacted in a video, and we're going to take a look at the video. And after that, we'll come back to talk more about this, and thereafter take some of the tweets. And in the video, he did share about how, he said some words that Nigerians haven't found very comfortable. Some would rather even refer to it as uncouth. Let's take a look at the video.
What you don't know, you don't know. What you know, you know. And the good thing for you is to tell people that, look, I don't know this. And people will educate you. The Honorable Minister of State and my humble self, we have not been in office for more than 10 months, 11 months. And to the glory of God, the person is angry that they are praising us. If you don't want, go and hang yourself in a transformer.
Go and hang yourself, really? That wasn't quite the reaction that a number of Nigerians expected, and some have criticized it and called it uncouth, unprofessional, and not the way to handle dispute. But let's see what Nigerians are saying on X regarding the drama between Nyesom Wike and Ireti Kingigbe. And some of the tweets are as follows. The first tweet this morning is from Novi Everest. It says, Wike is a bully. We shouldn't allow him to bully Madam Ireti Kingigbe. He bullied Sim Fubara till he couldn't. The only way to stop a bully is to fight back fully. And this is something that, this is a sentiment that a number of people have expressed, because when you hear Wike and you hear rivalry, the first thing you think about is Rivers, and all of a sudden now it's the FCT. Let's take the next tweet. The next tweet says, Wike is only disrespecting Senator Ireti because she's a woman. This is where feminist and women rights activists are supposed to be making Wike feel their venom. And this is from Uko Carter. The next tweet talks about the same matter, and it says, Wike challenges Ireti to contest in 2027. I think Ireti needs to buckle up. She does not need to isolate herself. And this is from Maurice Moyen. And it's important that this conversation is had because, yes, she did say that it's not about her gender, but there are people who would say that she needs to be a lot more assertive and lend her voice more. Also, him saying that she can't contest in 2027 has been criticized largely because one person cannot determine the vote of the large populace, the larger populace. You as the executive cannot come out rightly, to say that someone who is in the legislature cannot run for office and you're boasting about your influence. It's not really been a good look. And let's move over and see a few other tweets. This one is from Engineer Shaibu. He says, Nigerians are suffering, but Wike and the others are dancing on the internet to Pepe, giant of Africa without strength. I'm sure a number of us have seen the video of Nyesom Wike dancing on the internet. And that's something that we're quite used to, politicians either dancing or singing or becoming comedians on social media. Not quite exactly, that's the video. Not only was his dancing criticized, his outfit, which interestingly is a designer outfit. When somebody gave us the breakdown, they did a pictorial breakdown of how much his outfit cost. And it's a lot of money. According to what we saw online, it's in the range of the millions, but I can neither confirm nor deny this. Let's take a few other tweets before we call it a day this morning on the show. FS Yusuf says, River State people don't send Wike away for Abuja people to deal with his arrogance. By 2027, he will be politically useless. Will he? Well, the influence of Nyesom Wike has been talked about and the role that he's played. Many wondered why the PDP has not yet been able to sanction him, even though his actions have been counted as anti-party activities. And many are wondering when, if the president will step in to douse the situation or maybe to rein him into order. These are the conversations and these are what Nigerians are saying on social media this morning. Want to ask you to always be a part of the conversation. Tweet at News Central TV on all social media platforms. And that's all that we have, not just on what Nigerians are saying, but also on Breakfast Central. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Osaoge, you've seen a lot of the reactions that Nigerians have had. Do you have your own tweet? Did you tweet about it? I probably should have taken your tweet.
No, I didn't.
Okay,
no,
so if you had to tweet, what would you say?
I've shared most of what my thoughts are, about how heartbroken I am that, these are the type of statements I would hear from a minister today. These are the type of things that we're even discussing in Nigeria today. Ikechukwu Amechi, our guest earlier, mentioned, something else to believe, that Nyesom Wike and a couple of these people represent, the ugliest face of Nigerian politics. Right. And this is not what, we should be dealing with at a time like this. So,
and if I were to tweet, I would say you don't need to like each other to work together. You must prioritize the needs of the people of the FCT. And more importantly, even if you have to disagree with decorum and with grace. And that wraps up our show this morning. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back again, same time from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Remember, you can be a part of the show. I am Olive MOD.
And I am Osaoge Ogbon.
Have a good day.